Live. Good morning. Sorry about that. We thought we went off a little bit earlier, but we didn't realize we're still on pre-live. But anyways, it is March 8th. We're glad to be with you today. By the way, Casey's made sure it's in yellow on the top of my sheet here. It's Happy International Women's Day, so I'm sure she's wanting to remind me of that. Certainly, I think there was a great article over the last week that came out about our Majority Women Council, so I just did want to at least indicate that today is International Women's Day. City Hall will be reopening to the public. City Hall will be reopening to the public next Monday, March 15th. We'll be sending a press release this week about more information, but we plan to have next week's press conference at City Hall, except we won't have a press conference next week because I won't be in the city of Pensacola. So that was a little mix up with Casey and I, but we will make sure we have that. Right now, the 5th floor will, which includes permitting and inspection services, will remain closed to the public for a couple more weeks with its remodeling. But right now, just before we came on, Kareth and I were discussing there's a plan to be able to handle public coming in and being able to get permits, and we're working on that to make that ready to go. We're going to talk about permitting. I know it's something I heard a lot about this weekend for many of y'all. I couldn't go anywhere. It was the main topic. Even despite things like the bridge and everything else, certainly inspections was the main topic, and we'll be updating you a little bit more about that. But I did want to tell you they won't be on the 5th floor, but we will have another way for you to be able to reach inspection services. Pensacola Youth Council deadline is coming up. This is just a reminder that the City of Pensacola is launching the Pensacola Youth Council, a new program for area high school students interested in becoming involved in their community, learning about the inner workings of local government and sharpening their leadership skills. Their applications for the inaugural program are due this Friday, March 12th at 4 p.m. So again, please, if you have high school seniors out there, high school juniors and seniors, if you please remind them about filling out that application. We'd love to have them a part of this inaugural group. Pensacola Youth Council was created to give Pensacola youth an opportunity to participate in the process of city government and develop leadership and service-oriented program for young leaders. Due to COVID-19, Youth Council meetings activities will be virtual during the spring of 2021 semester. The initial pilot program will run 9 weeks from March 22nd through May 21st. To be considered for the Pensacola Youth Council, students must meet the following requirements: be a city resident of the City of Pensacola, be 11th or 12th grade during the 2020-2021 academic year, and submit the completed application by Friday, March 12th deadline. So again, we please ask that you do that. Pensacola Youth Council will consist of 12 members. So selected students must commit and be actively involved in the program. Visit cityofpensacola.com to download a program application. The application is due by Friday, again, March 12th at 4 p.m. and a notification of appointment will be made by the following Friday, March 19th. Of course, obviously, we were upset last week and disappointed to hear that DOT was going to have to delay the reopening of the bridge. However, when it's certainly in dealing with safety and a condition with the bridge, I certainly supported the secretary and his decision to not open based on that safety issue. We have to get that replaced. There's no way we can have people operating on a bridge that has a compromised pier. But it was just unfortunate to have it while we were so close. The good news is every discussion that we had with them still leads us to believe that the May time frame is still a go. I know we talked that morning before on Thursday morning. Derek Owens and I talked with DOT about the landing, and certainly we have no guarantees, but there's a certain belief that the landing will be, as we can move from 2 lanes, we're hoping to move from 2 lanes to 4 lanes, the landing would be there. But the landing is going to have to be done to do all 4 lanes. So at this particular time, it seems to be everything is lining up for the end of May. We will continue to keep you updated, and we will continue to work with DOT. The city is working with our partners right now at Pensacola Bay Ferries to get a ferry service back up and running. Pensacola Bay Cruises operates 2 ferries, the Pelican Perch and the Turtle Runner. We are currently out of operation due to damage from Hurricane Sally. However, we expect the Pelican Perch to be back the week of the 22nd and the Turtle Runner to be back mid to late April. Once the ferries get back, we still have about a week or so. We'll have to get them ready to go and get into service. Additionally, right now, the Pensacola Beach is making their repairs. I know I've been in contact with Commissioner Bender, who does expect that they should be able to meet our time frame by the time the boat comes back, and we have it ready to go to get out there and begin to take passengers. So we're hopefully shooting for the first part of April, and we'll let you know more as we get closer to that time frame. We'll continue to keep you updated with our partners on the efforts of the how to get to the beach. I went over there this weekend, had the opportunity to go. It was absolutely gorgeous, and certainly that made it all the more disappointed about the bridge, because getting over there was fairly difficult. But we certainly want to find ways that we can get you there, and part of that is the ferry service, and we're looking to see whatever we can do. But overall, I will say, and I told Commissioner Bender, the beach looked very good despite the hurricane. It was gorgeous with the emerald green water. It was beautiful to be out there, but certainly it's going to be a challenge for about another 2 months, and we hope to have that ferry service open and operative for you to be able to get there. The Bay Bluffs Park reopens. Bay Bluffs Park reopened after temporary closing for repair damage to the boardwalk after Hurricane Sally. All repairs had been complete, and the park is now open. The park was temporarily closed February 15th through the 25th while the repairs were completed. But I also came by there after coming back from the beach, and it was evident that many of you are out there on the beach like it was during COVID. I realize it's a poor substitute for Pensacola Beach, but if you have a need to get down and be along the water, there is great opportunity in the city of Pensacola. It's not as good as Pensacola Beach, but it is at least a viable option that isn't going to take you 45 minutes to get there. I saw many of you taking the advantage to be at the Bay Bluffs, and we're going to continue to make sure that's open and available for you to access. This week we have city council meetings. Today we have the agenda review. It will be very important. At the end, before I turn it over to questions, we're going to talk at length about some of the things coming up. One of the big issues is the first round of just discussing the Maritime Park lease. It will not be a vote this week, but we will be discussing it and bringing it to the public and to the council to discuss, so that we will be able to have a vote at a later time. But again, also the City Council CRA special workshop will be immediately following the agenda review at 3:30, and then the community CRA meeting will follow that. On Thursday, March 11th, the council will meet at 5:30. Members of the public may not attend the city council meetings and other city meetings in person, as City Hall is closed until the 15th. The public may participate in city council meetings virtually. To view live stream at cityofpensacola.com/video. To sign up to speak, visit cityofpensacola.com/cc input starting 1 p.m. today through 3 p.m. Thursday. Public hearing, there will be a public hearing on the city CBDG coronavirus funding. The City of Pensacola is hosting a public hearing Wednesday, March 10th at 4 p.m. to gather citizen input on city's housing and community development needs related to the coronavirus pandemic. The public hearing will be held in room 104 at the Skanska County Central Office Complex, located at 3363 West Park Place in Pensacola. The hearing is related to the City of Pensacola applying for the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity and Community Development Block Grant for coronavirus funding. The city is eligible to apply up to $382,000. Eligible products must prepare for, prevent, or respond to health and economic impacts for COVID-19. To learn more about the public hearing and eligible projects, please visit cityofpensacola.com. Permitting, it's what I talked about earlier. I know it seems to be the issue that is out there. Our permitting and inspection staff has been incredibly busy, and I wanted to share some of those numbers with you. Certainly volume is a part of it, but we realize we've got to get better, and we're working right now to do many things for us to get what we can do. But we have seen a sharp increase in permits pertaining to new construction. We've seen a sharp decline in new construction permits, but in contrast, we've seen an incredible increase in roof repairs and other repairs since Hurricane Sally. The numbers for the first 6 months of 2020 and the first 6 months of 2021. I'll be reviewing those. And again, what has increased, we see new residential from 2020 went from 157 to 80 in this year. Commercial was 5 and 5. Alterations were 222 to 148. However, roofing went from 550 permits in the first half of 2020 to 2,014 in 2021, and repairs on residential and construction went from 51 in 2020 to 87 in 2021. So we have seen a significant increase in our permitting, but we certainly are working to make sure we can do better. We hear many of you out there that are dealing with the frustrations. We certainly have been going through a considerable amount of volume, but we realize a couple of things are needed. One, we certainly are looking to get back open, and at the end of the week, that's happening for City Hall. We're looking to find a way for the construction department, inspections department, to be open and available to you. And when we have those details, we will release those. They are in the middle of doing some construction themselves. And I think what you'll see is much more adaptive to helping you when you get there in a more conducive way with your individual projects when you come in. But until that time, we will have something. I just don't know whether it will be probably on first floor or where we will be, but we will have things open when City Hall opens for you to get there. We are also looking at discussing it, bringing back as many people back into the office from inspections just to have them here. The rest of City Hall is still operating on a rotating basis with lower than 100% capacity back again, but from a standpoint of inspections, we will be bringing everybody back. And I know many of you have written me, and I'm certainly happy to meet with you and see what we can do. I do know that Kareth and Jonathan Bilby have been meeting with David Peden and the residential contractors, home builders. They're also meeting with other individuals, and I've received calls from several people over the weekend that wanted to meet and talk about inspections. So we will be doing that. I will say 5G. I got a few things over the weekend on 5G. I did just want to comment. It was interesting. I did get to Pensacola Beach, and I did have a chance to see what they had done. It's interesting. I mean, I'm sure it is more uniform in the way they've responded to it. But again, I would say any of you that get out there, it would be interesting to hear your feedback on what they've done and the way they've put it in. I fully realize that to a lot of people that will still be tacky. To some people, it will not be. But these are the challenges that we're running into. In some ways, we could do some of that. If we've talked to neighborhoods before about doing something similar to that, but there has been a concern. I certainly know the one. I can look out my front porch and look down the street and see one right there that's in the park, in Dunwoody Park. And that's a wooden one, just like every other pole we have. I do understand from Derek's perspective that that it doesn't stick out as much. And if you get to Pensacola Beach and you see it at first, it kind of sticks out to you. But after you get used to it, you don't even see it anymore. It is interesting the way it's complete in a green structure that sort of matches the palm trees that are there. But I did have a chance to see that. I know there are some people who contacted us about hearing about 5G in their neighborhood, and we certainly will be continuing to work with that. We've talked to the neighborhood presidents, and if people look at something like Pensacola Beach and decide that would be something they thought was more appropriate for their neighborhood, we certainly can look to go that way. I will say I've had discussions with Derek. I think his biggest concern is and I've seen it on Bayou Boulevard as well. You hardly notice it when it looks the same as every other electrical pole that's up there. So again, we're still looking to figure out what we can do aesthetically in the same way. But I think, you certainly look at what Pensacola Beach did. I know there are many people in Pensacola Beach I've talked to who are upset about what they look like. But it's just, again, one of those things we're trying to work with and figure out what's the right thing to do for our neighborhoods and where we go. So looking for feedback and what people have. COVID, at least our positivity rate continues to be sort of below 7% consistently. That's a good thing. Our hospitalization numbers, as of yesterday, we were at 64. That was coming down from March 3rd and March 4th at 81. March 5th was 73, and March 6th was a new low at 63, and we're 64 today. We continue to work through those things, and we feel like we're getting to almost that 50 hospitalizations. That's why you certainly see us looking to open some things up and be a little bit more open as we get to the end of the week. For the vaccines, the Skanska County residents who are vaccine eligible should use statewide pre-registration system to sign up for the vaccine. Residents can call toll-free at 866-201-1025 to pre-register. The TTT number for the deaf and hard of hearing is 833-476-1464. During the week of February 26th through March 24th, Florida Department of Health administered a total of 1,845 COVID-19 vaccines. In addition to daily clinic operations, Florida Department of Health held 2 pod events Friday, February 26th, and Thursday, March 4th, that targeted persons 65 and older. The DOH announced this week's COVID vaccine distribution plan, and it is available at escambia.floridahealth.gov. We will have that. Certainly, Escambia Department of Health, Escambia County continues to work with their community partners, including Ascension Sacred Heart, Baptist Healthcare, Community Health Northwest Florida, West Florida Hospital, Escambia County Emergency Management, Escambia County Medical Society, older adult independent living facilities, and local faith-based organizations to administer these vaccines to priority groups. So again, we ask that you continue to look and see what's going on. I know I've heard we certainly keep trying to track the Publix, the CVS, as well as the vaccines from all of the different groups that are there, and we're still seeing about that 2,000 or so a week getting vaccines. So again, just we still need everybody to get a vaccine, and we hope you will take the opportunity to work through that. And we will have all of this information on our website and social media, so you can find how to properly contact somebody and get registered. Along those lines, today we're having the first opportunity to talk to council about today the Maritime Park, and I just kind of wanted to go over just a few things that were here. It certainly is a little bit more difficult with this situation rather than being live, but I do know we have some of the reader boards here from the very first. From the very beginning of what was put out there in 2006. And as you can see, there is right in the middle of this, there was an idea that there would be a parking deck that would be additional infrastructure that would come in at some time to Maritime Park, and it would be wrapped with offices and residential. It was certainly anticipated even that 15 years ago that would happen. Again, to get the full development that we see and what we thought we would see eventually all the way through this plan, it is going to be incumbent to have the parking. And in fact, I think the nearly 10 years of less than successful development on that parcel, as I look out across the way at it, the 10 years of less than satisfactory development of it has much to do about that facility that we do not have. It's the one piece of public infrastructure remains that's not there. We have an opportunity with the existing tenant that's coming forward, a prospective tenant. It is going to be a lease. It is going to be a residential apartment complex, but they also are going to do a parking deck that will be ours, will be the city's, and looking at about 1,000 spaces in there. It will be briefed today to City Council and told to the public some of the details. But again, it's one of those things where we are working with it. We've come up with a little bit of a different structure, but I really appreciate Amy, Andrew Rothfeder, our team in putting together with Kareth and Susan Wolf and everyone working hard to find a way that we can get the ability to develop it for the apartments, but also to see the parking deck come in there. As I told y'all last week, this infrastructure is probably somewhere between 18 to 19.5 million dollars. That's almost one half of the cost of what was done originally with the park that included the baseball field and the baseball stadium. So this is a significant piece of public infrastructure that still remains out there. We have the opportunity with what's being proposed and brought forward to us to be able to get that done and get it done all at once and not have to figure out how we finance it or figure out there's a gap or something else. So again, those things will be discussed today. I think if you looked at it, it's just shy of 5 acres that is 4 and 5 lots, 4 and 5 together. The parking deck is about just over 1 acre. So again, we're gonna lease for top dollar those 5 acres, but we're asking to try to grab back that 1 acre to put in a fairly significant piece of public infrastructure. Now, they will have some parking spaces in there. It's going to be talked about. They will be paying for those parking spaces. But again, the way we've come together with this, it will be presented today. I think it's the best way for us to move forward. And once we get that parking structure done, you're going to have a significant number of spaces that whoever else comes in will be able to obtain some spaces, but they will have to pay us for those spaces. It will allow future councils to figure out what they want to do. And there was much discussion about why we didn't have a museum. And I tell you, the biggest part about that is you're looking at probably for 100 spaces for a museum, which may even be light for what they need. But if 100 spaces in that parking deck would roughly cost about $1.8 million to almost $2 million, and those costs have somewhat already been absorbed. So again, I think the future is very bright for what we do on the 3 remaining parcels if we just get that done, which is what I've been saying for months now and tried to talk a little bit about last week's press conference. But that's it for the things I wanted to present about. I'm now happy to talk to you about your questions, and I'll be happy to hear what you have to say.
Sure. The first question is from Dave at WWF. Sorry about the echo.
I heard it's a 3-part question, so we'll just go with question 1.
It is. So we'll just go with the first one. What's the latest on the proposed lawsuit against Skanska?
At this point, the city is still evaluating whether we will have to bring a lawsuit or not. So, I mean, we're still evaluating whether we get reimbursed for the damages we've had. We're continuing to look at that. If you're talking about the private lawsuits, I'm sure those still are ongoing, and we'll be awaiting a chance and an opportunity to go to court. Certainly, we see the damage that's happened, and again, it's not even it's going to be about not a 6-month, but rather an 8.5-month completion time frame for that bridge to get open. So we certainly have sustained injury, and the courts are our remedy, and I hope the courts will take into account all the measures, not just those that Skanska says favor them. I think they need to look at everything that's happened in an unprecedented way through their negligence. As I've explained before, we did declare a state of emergency on that Monday morning. We had it ready to go, and while certainly the state of Florida had not acted fast enough, it's very, very normal for that to happen, for us to be in a situation because of where we sit on the very western edge. They should have been listening to us. We went ahead and declared that, and they could have secured all of those barges just as they do for every other storm. So again, that will continue to be our position in there if something moves forward. But second question.
Yeah, the second question from Dave is, what are your thoughts on a bill that would take away much of the local control of the port?
That was last week's item of the week. We did spend a significant amount of time on that. Amy Miller went to Tallahassee and testified to the legislature. Again, it's simply another preemption that just is crazy when you think about it, that we couldn't even control what comes in, that we couldn't control. We say you can't bring explosives into the port. Now we wouldn't be able to control that because of a law made in Tallahassee. It makes sometimes these things make no sense, but whether it was 5G, whether it's the port, these are why we fight preemption so actively in what we do. I think Amy did an incredible job over there. I'm hearing most all the ports got dropped except municipal ports, which still leaves Key West, which is sort of where this epicenter of where this argument started. It still leaves St. Pete, Pensacola, and Panama City, and yet we are trying to work through some language that would at least, not put this in a way that it really impacts the city of Pensacola. We certainly believe that if the purpose of this was to address cruise lines, then the stuff in the bill should be just cruise lines and not all this other stuff. So we are working with that. I want to thank J.R. Williamson, who voted against and it was a House leadership bill, and he went against it, and I really appreciate his leadership, at least in doing that. I know that Michelle Salzman has contacted me multiple times. We've talked about it, and Doug Broxton's office as well about it. So I know that the Senate has something a little bit different, and there may be a chance for us to fight a little bit more over there. But again, we certainly believe this is why we don't need preemptions. This is why we believe home rule is important, and the city of Pensacola should have direct say in what happens on its port.
And then the last question from Dave is any word on when the bridge could reopen?
Everything we were told in our meeting, and again, everything we were told in our meeting was again, they were still shooting for the May 31st, and they did that. There were a lot of questions about what, how could you move the traffic? The problem was it was on the side. If you know, there are two trophy sides of the bridge. One holds 3. I mean, they both hold 3, but again, the one on the outside also holds the walking trail. So the one on the inside is much more critical to the path, and that's where they could have done 2 lanes. They can't do 2 lanes on the other one because it carries one of the walking lanes. So when the problem happened, we saw that it was going to be there. But from that standpoint, the good news is they have a trophy already cast because they cast some extras in case they had problems, and they said at this point they still have a trophy that they could use. They have pilings that they could use. They're almost done with all the pilings anyways, so they think they can move fast to get that done. And the real good news is once the pilings and the trophies are all set, really once the trophies are set, it really is a fairly fast operation. They can move much faster on that. Our concern also, number 2 concern, is obviously the landing, and we at least believe the word we got was that they feel fairly confident that the landing will be there, and there's no guarantee. Anything could happen, weather, a variety of other things, but they think the landing and the 4 lanes will all be sort of lining up for the end of May.
This is from Laura at WEAR. Will there be any precautionary measures taken around the city for spring break?
I mean, last week we actually had we had a significant amount of visitors in the city of Pensacola, obviously with the basketball tournament, which I should have opened thanking the Sun Belt. Certainly appreciate them holding their basketball conference here. I saw buses everywhere. I mean, you couldn't go by a hotel in the city somewhere that you didn't see a bus of some school that had some mascot on it. So we very much appreciate the opportunity to have them in town. It's a little bit different with COVID this year. We look forward to years when we can be more open with that event, and we think it will be a better event for their fans and for the city. So we certainly have had a number of people in this past weekend. As far as our own personal spring break being the next week, I think from that standpoint, we're working to have activities. That's why we want to get our community centers back open, and it sort of has worked out for us that, we thought at the 1st of February when we made this decision that by this time we would be down around that 50 hospitalizations. It looks like we're going to be close by the end of the week. This is, I think things are kind of falling in place for us where we can have a good week. If you remember in September, we kind of got to those numbers. We had some good numbers. We were able to be cautious and open, and I think we just got to do that. If we can do that the same way we maintained in May of last year, sort of when we first get open, we kind of do a good job. It's when we get open, and we've been open about a month, we sometimes forget to keep doing those precautionary measures. But we're still working through it, and we think we'll have things operational to handle spring break as best we can. A lot of it will be dependent upon how we all, what we do and how we handle it in the activities we do. And again, if there are opportunities for you to get vaccine and as much as you can do, please take every advantage to do that. That's our true way out of this eventually. So we continue to work as diligently as we can on that. We'd love to see the additional Johnson & Johnson vaccine come forward, be able to give us more vaccine that we can give out there, but that's sort of where we are at this particular time. I think we're as safe as we've been in some time, and I think it's not perfect outside by any means, but we've certainly seen that outside is better than inside. I think it's probably one of the reasons that we see spring and fall as our low seasons, and we've seen our peaks in the summer and in the winter, because people are more likely to be inside with both of those time frames. So again, I think we just have to be smart about what we're doing, and I think we can be successful at continuing to watch over the outbreaks as we deal with spring break.
And this is also from Laura. You mentioned City Hall reopening. Is there talk of loosening any other COVID-related restrictions or changes, or is the plan to let them expire with dates already set?
I mean, obviously, they will go till the date's set in late March. If we get to 50, I've been very clear this fall how I feel about things if we get to 50. I've also been very clear that if they go up, how I will act if they go up to 75. So, you know, at this particular time, those will be, I'll be the same way I was in March as I was in September. So if we hit those thresholds, those will be things we need to look at. Again, none of the virus isn't political. Nothing else is there. It's based on your local conditions. We should structure our response based on the conditions we're experiencing. If we do that, I think we're going to do the best we can for our citizens, for our community, and everyone else. So again, I think that's the best part of it, because we've clearly seen if we don't work to provide some time, we end up people get frustrated with it. They simply quit doing it, and then it's tough to bring them back. I would rather say, hey, these are the times we can give you to be lax, and these are the times we need you to be serious, and I need you to follow those. If we follow those, we will be better suited at tackling these when we actually see impacts coming.
This is from Jim at P&J. What's the status of the other two potential leases at CMP?
They are still out there. Inspired really didn't have a defined plan what they wanted to do at this particular time, so it didn't. We're going to be extending those for another 6-month option. We're also extending Valencia for another 6-month option. We are still in works and negotiation with them. Obviously, we will have to go back and readdress sort of where we are in our relationship of how we're dealing with everything. But there's no doubt that the biggest one, the most important one to me, was Silver Hills, and I think Silver Hills is also the one that is most excited about getting something going here. Not to say that Valencia isn't. We continue to work through that. It probably will take about another 6 months, but I don't know that's necessarily a bad thing for them in the hotel industry. They believe that when COVID is gone, that their industry and their business will be very successful. But they also, it's kind of a timing thing. So everybody's trying to work around some of the impacts of COVID, and certainly we understand COVID has had a significant impact on the tourism industry and those hotels. So it doesn't surprise me that we're still working through that, and we're going to be extending out the option to them to continue to keep working.
All right, I don't see any more questions.
There was one last thing I forgot to say, and we did do a Facebook Live on Thursday, and I guess we tried to. It's not our project on the bridge. And we try to let them tell you what's going on FDOT. We were disappointed in some of the correspondence that came out, and we wanted to be as transparent as possible with you, which is why we went on and told you exactly what we had been told, and we will try to do that whenever. But again, for the most part, it's not our project. We continue to follow it, but we will share with you all the information we receive as soon as we receive it, and that's why we did that sort of emergency or impromptu Facebook Live, because we wanted to share that information, and we will continue to try to do that as much as we can.
We did have another question come in, so
okay.
Just wanted to let you know for when you are wrapped up.
I'm ready.
All right. This is from Laura at WEAR. We are told the city's fire boat has been out of commission for some time and may not be back until May. Any updates on the status?
Yes. I understand from talking with Chief Craner that there are some upgrades that we had an opportunity to get. I don't understand why they couldn't put the upgrades here, but it was a requirement for the manufacturer that they had to go back to the manufacturer to do that. So I think it was sometime this winter it was not related to Hurricane Sally, and it was still here after Hurricane Sally, but it's my understanding that it has gone back up for those retrofits and upgrades, and it had to go. It was not like something they could come down here and do. We had to actually send the vessel there to get those things taken care of. So again, we expect that when it comes back, it'll have all those things taken care of, and we'll be right ready to get going. But we will have a couple more months waiting for it to come back, and we certainly hope we don't have any other impacts.
Yeah, and I'll just add from talking to Chief Craner that those were planned grant-funded upgrades, and I think we expect that back sometime this summer. So, but I do not see any more questions unless we have any coming in.
All right. Well, thank you very much. We will not see you next week. I'll be out of town with spring break. I will be gone. My wife's a teacher, so it's one of the times we can travel and get out of town. So we will be gone next week, but we will get back with you the following week, and we look forward to seeing you then. Thanks.